Hello guys, as usual stay home, stay safe and do Excel chemistry. Alright, so we're talking about the compounds of no we spoke about aluminium and its properties, and today we shall talk about the compounds of aluminium. Okay, so let's see what are the various compounds of aluminium. Okay, in that the first one, that is Al2O3, very much commonly known as alumina. Okay, so this alumina, the various kinds of ores, or it is generally it occurs in various forms. That is, it occurs in colorless corundum. Very beginning of the class I have told like what is corundum. One second, let me decrease the brightness. Okay, so it occurs in colorless corundum, then in various precious stones like ruby, then we have the sapphire, then amethyst, and the other one is emerald or emery. Basically the color of this one is red ruby. Sapphire, it is blue in color, and amethyst is generally violet in color, and emerald, it is green in color, or emery is green in color. And out of this, the very important one is the first, that is ruby and sapphire. The reason why the ruby is red in color, because of the impurities. Okay, do remember this. The impurities that are present in ruby is chromium. Chromium ions are present. Chromium ions are present in the corundum or ruby. Then that's the reason it is getting a red color. Okay, sapphire is because of the titanium and ions. Okay, so these two things are important, so do remember the color is because of the chromium and titanium and iron. Fine, so this is what about the various occurrence of alumina. Apart from this, you also know like it is also available in the hydrated form. What is that? Popularly known as, we are familiar with this, that is bauxite. Formula Al2O3 dot 2H2O. Apart from this, we also have the gibbsite and all those things, but very importantly, I already said like most important one is bauxite. Okay, fine. So now talking about the preparations, very simple preparations. What do you expect? Suppose from aluminum hydroxide, what should have happened such that it becomes Al2O3? Simple, get rid of water, and to get rid of water, what you do is simple heating. Okay, on heating aluminum hydroxide, it forms Al2O3 plus water. This first one. And another also I can do, that is with aluminum sulfate, Al2SO4 thrice. On heating this also, I will get Al2O3 plus, now instead of water, what do I get? Sulfur trioxide. This reaction we have already seen, in fact. Okay, so on a whole, Al2O3 is the formed. Apart from this, that is from alum, in fact ammonium alum. Once upon a time, alum refers to only the potassium sulfates. Okay, sulfates of potassium and aluminium. Okay, but later on, after many sulfates of the other metals are discovered, it is accepted for all the things. Okay, so ammonium alum is generally the sulfates. Alum refers to sulfates. Okay, so sulfates of ammonium, so that is ammonium sulfate with aluminium sulfate, Al2SO4 thrice dot 24H2O. As said already, this is the general formula of any alum. Once upon a time, it is used to be only potassium, that is K2SO4. Okay, and Al2SO4 thrice dot 24 is 2. Only that was called as alum, but later on, because of the discovery of the new combination of sulfates, these are also termed as alums. Alright, so this is called as ammonium alums. It is very simple to prepare the alums. Just to take equal volumes, okay, 1:1 ratios of equal volumes of the metals. Generally this is the metal with univalent positive, okay, so with +1 oxidation state, and this one is with metal with +3 oxidation state. Okay, so that's what we generally see. Like this one can be satisfying for sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, ammonium, all the things, okay, and aluminum, then chromium, then iron. So those are generally used in instead of aluminum. So those are also called as the sulfates of uh, iron, chromium, cobalt. They're also called as what? Alums only, okay. So in today's terminology, but olden times we used to call it as only potassium's case. Okay, so now ammonium alum. So when I heat ammonium alum, it forms again Al2O3 plus ammonia plus sulfur trioxide plus water. Everything just breaks down, okay. So what are the things that breaks down is, we have from NH4 twice, that is ammonia coming out, Al2SO4 thrice already seen, that is Al2O3 and sulfur trioxide, and water coming out, okay. So that's what about from ammonium alums also we can prepare our alumina, fine. And lastly, in fact very important one, which we have already seen, that aluminum fluorides on treating with B2O3 boron oxide, then it forms Al2O3 plus BF3. If you remember, we have studied the preparation of boron trifluoride in the same way, okay. So on a whole, do remember this. And properties of B2O3 also we might have seen this reaction, okay. So that's what I was telling about. One methods of preparations will become properties of other, okay. Properties of something becomes preparations of something else, okay. So like that. So if you learn, if you have a track of all the reactions, some reactions will be sufficient enough to learn the others, okay. Alright, so that's all about the preparations. Now let's talk about the properties. So properties, very simple properties. In fact, you can easily understand them. Generally they are white crystalline solids, then they are insoluble, that is Al2O3 is insoluble in water, and it is also less reactive. When I say less reactive, what should be its stability? More stable. Then it is volatile in nature, and in fact it volatilizes at 1750 degrees Celsius, and it is amphibolic in nature. Its boiling point is 22,050 degrees Celsius, and melting point, first I should have melting, is 2050 degrees Celsius, okay. So melting point is 2050, then boiling point is 2250, so difference of 200 degrees Celsius, and then just 200, okay. So melting point is very high, and now as comparative to melting point, boiling point is not so high, it is very much near to the melting point, okay. So that's the reason to separate of alumina from its impurities and oxides, it's very difficult, okay. Just electrolysis will not help us, fine. And that's what we have discussed in the earlier class as well. Then apart from this, so basically these are the properties, fine. And now let's talk about the uses. They are generally used to make bauxite bricks. Generally these bauxite bricks are used for lining the furnaces, because they have high durability for heat. They are used in lining the furnaces, okay. Then it is also used, the fused alumina is used in refractory furnace, is used as refractory material. And the third one, that is, it is used to prepare alundin. Okay, basically what is alundin is at very high temperatures, like 3000 degrees Celsius heat. Okay, it is very much, all the all the impurities are that are present just leaves the system, and it is very much strong hard powder is formed. Okay, so when you heat at around 3000 degrees Celsius, a very hard powder is formed, which is known as alundin. Okay, so to prepare alundin at 3000 degrees Celsius, what is the use of this alundin is to smoothen or to wipe off all the impurities on other metals. Okay, just like to choke off, to remove the impurities that are settling on our adsorption. Okay, as an adsorption. So alundin, that is uh, for abrasive. Abrasive is nothing but, as I said already, it's a very strong hard substance or powdery thing that will choke off the impurities that are present. Okay, just like for smoothening the cords, wooden cords or wooden doors, the people or the carpenters use a very ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే అది రఫ్ పేపర్ లా ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, and they keep on rubbing it on the wood such that it becomes soft. Okay, so same thing, alundin is like that. Then it is also used to prepare the stones, as said already, to prepare the gemstones. And lastly, it is also used in chromatography. Okay, so these are the do remember this chromatography. Okay, to separate the dyes and all, generally we use this, and these are the uses of Al2O3 alumina. Okay, then next, moving to aluminum chloride. What is this aluminum chloride? See, aluminum chloride is basically it exists in two ways, that is hydrated and unhydrated, anhydrous form and hydrated form. So anhydrous AlCl3, other one is hydrated AlCl3, that is AlCl3.6H2O. okay, so preparations wise, if you see, very simple methods of preparations. You just react with that is aluminum with hydrochloric acid. In fact, this should be dry HCl. When you react aluminum metal with dry HCl, it automatically forms AlCl3, releasing H2 gas. Okay, that is one method. Second method is, instead of treating with the dry HCl, you can also the hot aluminum metal is treated with chlorine gas. Heat in the presence of chlorine gas, then also you can get our AlCl3. And the third one, that is from Al2O3. Al2O3, on treating with carbon in the presence of chlorine, which we have seen this reaction, what should have happened, you must be knowing, that is AlCl3 plus carbon monoxide. Okay, and out of this is most important. Fine, so these are the three simple methods of preparations for anhydrous form. Hydrated form, aluminum on treating with HCl, aqueous form. See, in the dry HCl we get AlCl, that is anhydrous. In the aqueous form or dilute HCl, okay, so dilute HCl will give us AlCl3, that is aqueous, plus H2 gas. Okay, so this AlCl3 aqueous is nothing but the hydrated form. The aluminum chloride is covered or surrounded by water molecules, which is called as AlCl3 aqueous. Fine, then it is also treated, or it is also prepared from aluminum hydroxide. on treating with HCl will form AlCl3 plus H2O. Now this water molecules get surrounded by that. So on a whole, we can prepare the hydrated version by this. Okay, aqueous HCl and aqueous HCl with aluminum hydroxide. So both of them will serve the preparations of anhydrous as well as hydrated aluminum chloride. Now talking about the properties. Out of these things, with the most important one is anhydrous form. Okay, so this is really important. Okay, and methods of preparation, this is most important. Okay, Al2O3 on treating with carbon or coke in the presence of chlorine, in fact the temperature is maintained at around 1000 degrees Celsius, will form AlCl3 plus carbon monoxide, and this AlCl3 on cooling will form solid crystals. Okay, solid AlCl3. Fine. Okay, now not talking about the properties. Simple properties. This is also aluminum is white crystalline. Generally the color of aluminum compounds are generally of white crystallines. Okay, and it is diliquescent, undoubtedly. You know what is diliquescent, right? And fumes in air. What do you mean by fumes in air? What is that fumes that is coming out? We know what is diliquescent, and fumes in air means what? Sublimes. It sublimes at 180 degrees Celsius. And very important point and common point which you know, that it exists in dimer. Okay, so dimer, that is AlCl bonded to AlCl and Cl. Now mind it, here the same structure if you have seen in diborane, right? But there B2H6, this bond was a banana bond. Now here AlCl6 is not a banana bond. Okay, of course these atoms lie in one plane, these atoms lie in one plane, this chlorine above the plane, below the plane, no doubt in that. But this is not a banana bond, because chlorine atoms has lone pair of electrons, and this aluminum empty orbital is now, this lone pair of electrons is donated to aluminum. Same with this chlorine atom's lone pair is donated to aluminum, so it is like a dative bond. Okay, so don't forget that it is what? A dative bond. Okay, so we have the AlCl3, these two or these three bonds are what? They are covalent bonds, and this is a dative bond. Okay, fine. So it exists in dimer, and the nature, it is covalent in nature, whereas this one is ionic in nature. Okay, the hydrated form is ionic in nature, and this one is covalent in nature, and it is soluble in alcohols, ether, benzene, etc. Okay, and on dissolution, because of the high hydration energy, the dimer, how the dimer is existing, they just break down. The dimer breaks down into like this. On dissolution, dimer breaks into a complex compound, that is aluminum hexaaqua, aluminum chloride. Okay, so on dissolution, this is what happens. This is because due to high hydration energy, due to high hydration energy. He means hydration energy, Le means lattice energy. So this is what is happening on dissolution. Okay, then Al2C, the dimer form, when we treat with water, it forms, you should guess by this time what the products should be. Okay, in fact, instead of, if you are not guessing in this way, you should have guessed by this format. AlCl3 plus H2O. What will happen in the presence of AlCl3? What happens? Aluminum hydroxide, which we have seen it couple of times, plus HCl. In fact, this is the point, they are diliquescent. That means in the moisture, okay, what happens? The reaction with water takes place and you find aluminum hydroxide plus HCl. This is what our fumes. Okay, so the solution when treated with water, it is what? Acidic. This is a strong acid. Is it a strong acid? And it's a weak base. Fine. So the mixture is very much acidic when treated with water. Okay, so do remember this. Fine. And it is also like when treated with ammonium hydroxide, this point is really important. Let me write here itself. I don't know whether you're able to see. I'm sorry. Okay, so now, so aluminum chloride AlCl3 on treated with ammonium hydroxide, very important, pay attention. So what should have happened? AlCl3 on treated with ammonium hydroxide, it forms obviously the same, that is aluminum hydroxide. You must be guessing this, aluminum hydroxide plus salt, that is ammonium chloride. Okay, so now from here it is important, this is a gelatinous precipitate. Okay, remember this, it is a gelatinous precipitate. In questioning they say like a substance on reacting with ammonium hydroxide forms a gelatinous precipitate and a salt of ammonium. Okay, then on and on it goes on. So what is that gelatinous precipitate or what is that substance and adutadam. So to answer such kind of questions you must be knowing this as gelatinous precipitate. And not only that, and this gelatinous precipitate do not dissolve in excess of ammonium hydroxide. Okay, so this gelatinous precipitate in excess of ammonium hydroxide, that is NH4OH, excess of ammonium hydroxide, there is no dissolution, it does not dissolve in excess of ammonium hydroxide. Very important point. Okay, why I am saying very important point is there is similar kind of reaction with that is sodium hydroxide AlCl3 when treated with NaOH, it forms, familiar again with this reaction also. What would happen first? Aluminum hydroxide plus NaCl, and this also in excess of NaCl, this one in excess of NaCl, this aluminum hydroxide dissolves, or in other words this will react with excess of NaOH to form metaluminate NaAlO2 plus water. Okay, so the point is that precipitate that is formed do not dissolve, then it should be very much evident that we are reacting with ammonium hydroxide. That precipitate that is formed dissolves in excess of the solvent, and that it is what? Sodium hydroxide. So remember this very important difference between ammonium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide. Okay, fine. The reason is very simple. In this case sodium is very much reactive and the reaction is further possible. Here it's not a strong base, it's a weak base relatively, so the reaction will not further proceed. Okay, fine. So bottom line is gelatinous precipitate in excess of the solvent do not dissolve is NH4OH, in excess of solvent it dissolves is NaAlO2, that is NaOH. Fine. So this is what about the preparations and properties. And lastly, let me write the uses here itself. Uses, it is one of the very important component it is used as catalyst in Friedel-Crafts reaction. Friedel-Crafts alkylation and acylation, two important reactions are there, so that you will study in the organic chemistry. So in the organic chemistry, in the Grignard reagent especially, we use this as a catalyst, aluminum chloride. Okay, then it is also used to prepare or to manufacture gasoline. and it is also used to manufacture the dyes and some drugs, perfumes, etc. Okay, so these are the three simple uses of aluminum chloride. Okay, so regarding hydrated aluminum chloride, we don't have much usage. In fact, the uses of this also comes into this. On heating this, we get rid of the water molecules and it follows anhydrous form, and all these things happens. Okay, fine. So that's what about AlCl3. And now last, that is the last compound. In fact, we have another one, but not so important, but relatively this the last important compound, that is the alums. As said already, alum once upon a time was very much familiarly called only and only for potassium. Okay, so that's why I name it as potash alum. Okay, so guess what could be the formula? Guess. Already said. So it should be sulfate and acid potash, so potassium, so K2SO4 dot Al2SO4 thrice, and how many water molecules? 24 water molecules. This is called as potash alum. Okay, preparations, very simple method of preparations we have, that is with Al2O3 on treating with sulfuric acid. What should have happened? You must guess what should have happened. It forms aluminum sulfate, Al2SO4 thrice plus hydrogen gas. Now this aluminum sulfate that is formed is now treated with potassium sulfate, that's all. So Al2SO4 thrice on treating with equal moles of potassium sulfate with water, okay, it forms, just adding of K2SO4 plus sorry, no, it's not right, plus now, Al2SO4 thrice dot 24H2O. Okay, so this is how you prepare, very simple method of preparation. Aluminum oxide treated with sulfuric acid will form sulfates with hydrogen, and equal moles of sulfates when treated with potassium sulfate in water, it automatically forms our potash alum. There is also another method of preparation, that is K2SO4 dot Al2SO4 thrice 4 AlOH thrice. This is it is called as, let me write here as alum stone. Okay, it is called as what? Alum stone. In fact, it is also called as alunite. Okay, so for advance, they might be asking this question, what's the formula of alum stone or alunite? Okay, they'll give you 4 options, and out of 4 options they'll give you some formulas of let's say the, for example, dolomite, so we are talking about boron family, no, so let's say gibbsite, okay, then feldspar and alumnite or alum stone. Okay, which of the three given orders have the formulas? And 4 options is certain matter, so you have to identify like which molecules names is which formula. Okay, so right now K2SO4 Al2SO4 thrice dot 4 AlOH thrice is alum stone, or it is also called as alunite. So what you do is, this alunite on treating with sulfuric acid, dilute sulfuric acid, in fact, it forms K2SO4 plus Al2SO4 thrice plus 12H2O, and again this one in equal proportions of K2SO4 and Al2SO4 with 24 molecules, then they automatically form our potash alum. So Al2SO4 thrice plus 24H2O will form our desired product, K2SO4 Al2SO4 thrice dot 24H2O. Don't look the formula and all and think like, oh, so big reaction and all. It's very simple. Okay, all you got to do is remember that aluminum oxide treating with sulfuric acid will form aluminum sulfate. This one treat with potassium sulfate in equal amounts, 1:1 ratio with water molecules, and it will give us potash alum. Okay, that is one way. The other one is from alum stone. What is alum stone? K2SO4 AlTSO4 thrice. Instead of water molecules we have 4 AlOH thrice. Okay, this is what alum stone is. And alum stone on treating with sulfuric acid, dilute sulfuric acid. Concentrated we should not use. If you use concentrated sulfuric acid, the sulfur trioxide gas will come out. Okay, so SO3 also will come out, so we don't want that, so we generally use dilute sulfuric acid. So in the presence of this, they just break down K2SO4 AlTSO4 thrice plus water, and this one in equal proportions. When we mix it, we get our desired product, that is potash alum. So that's all. Preparations. Properties. As usual, as I said, aluminum, most of the compounds of aluminum are white crystalline. Okay, so this is also white crystalline. They are soluble in water, undoubtedly, and the aqueous solution is acidic in nature. The aqueous solution of the alum is acidic in nature. Because of aluminum sulfate, they hydrolyze to give the acid. Okay, and on heating, very important point, in fact, this one, it swells up due to loss of water molecules. When you heat, automatically what happens? What water molecules? For example, alum on heating around 200 degrees Celsius, it forms K2SO anhydrous form, K2SO4 dot Al2SO4 thrice plus 24 H2O. The water molecules have left, and if I still heat, in fact, what happens is the alum on still heating, red hot heating, we get K2SO4 plus Al2O3 plus sulfur trioxide gas. Okay, so this is the one responsible for acid. Okay, so that was doing on aqueous solution. Al2SO4 thrice breaks down into hydrolysis will form the sulfur trioxide, which is responsible for acid. Okay, so that's all about the properties. Now uses, very simple uses. I say simple, but for you it could be difficult, because many compounds uses, they look like they differ in many areas. In certain areas they are same. Okay, so yes, for this also it's difficult, but still you need to have a track of all the reactions, properties, and uses. Okay, the first use is it is used as moderant in dyeing. Basically, the dye, that is the color for the fabrics, when we use the fabric and the dye, they are attached together, stick together, because of the moderant only. Okay, and for the moderant we use the alums. Then it is also used in paper industry for sizing. In sizing is nothing but making the cheaper quality into a better quality by increasing its uh, smoothness or roughness, you can call it as. Okay, then it is also used for water purification, and it is also used as an antiseptic, and for blood clotting of blood. Whenever there are cuts, just apply potash alum, it stops the blood clotting of blood. And it is also used in tan industry. Okay, so that's all, 5 simple uses of potash alum. So that's all about the compounds of aluminium. Okay, ultramarine, one compound is there which is not much useful for us. So ultramarine is also one of the compounds that is available from compounds of aluminium. Okay, if possible I'll tell it in the next class, or else not much important. So with this, the main topics of boron family is done. As I already have a track of preparations, properties, and uses, and keep revising them very often. Okay, so that you don't forget. Okay, and only one small topic is left over, that is about Goldschmidt's thermic process. Okay, so how it is used in welding, and this thermit process you should have seen in 8th standard, I think. Okay, anyways, that topic I'll discuss hardly 5 to 10 minutes in the next video. I'll finish it off. Fine. So prepare well for your exam on Saturday, and also advanced exam on Sunday. Okay, so as said already, we'll have multiple choice questions, multiple correct answer questions, and paragraph based. Okay, so could all be this. Tomorrow I'll tell you about the paper structure also, pattern. Fine. All right, so for today we stop. Stay home, stay safe.